Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with my Week 7 battle of the Smogon Premier League. This time I'm playing ToF, also known as Twist of Fate, an old school DPP OU battler who loved to use stall. He loved to use stall back in the day. I know his comfort zone was fat teams. So stall, semi-stall was definitely something that he loved to run. It's actually been really cool seeing his DPP run this year in the Smogon Premier League because he's been changing up his style a lot. So I'm leading off with my Flygon as he leads off with his Infernape. I'm a Scarf Flygon. I don't know if he's Scarf Infernape or the Fake Out Focus Sash set. Personally, I don't like Infernape at all for rocks. I don't like the lead Infernape for rocks, so I'm thinking that he would be Scarf. Not necessarily also just because I don't like it, but because Scarf lead Infernape is a lot more common, or an offensive lead Infernape is a lot more common than something like the Fake Out lead these days. Now, I don't know if he's specially based Scarfape with HP Ice, and I definitely don't want to risk it. So instead of U-turning out, I decide to hard switch directly into my Jirachi. I figured if he did have HP Ice, he would be Scarf and he would go for it if he was HP Ice, and Jirachi could take it. And if he went for something like Fake Out, I adjust and switch out. But he ended up going for the U-turn based on that damage on my Jirachi. That is max attack investment on what I'm assuming to be a Scarf Infernape. So that definitely, just knowing this and calculating this, I take this into account as we go on later in the battle. And I apologize if you don't want to see me pause the battle and talk. I actually linked the replay in the description, but I do want to give my thought process behind every single attack I go for. Not every single attack, but most of the attacks. Now, I think this is really important. I named my Jirachi Tamahome. If you guys didn't see my last week SPL battle, you know why, or you would have known why I named it this. But I drop a Thunder right here as he reveals a Skarmory, and I unfortunately miss it as he is able to get up a Spike. Now, because I went for Thunder, I was honestly trying to scout for maybe a Swampert in the back, seeing as how that's Scarfape. Just based on the damage on Jirachi, that's Scarf Infernape. I already showed Thunder. I also could have expected something like Heat Rain coming in, though I don't know if you would really bring that in on Jirachi. I just wanted him to... I was basically scouting for something like a Swampert that could come in on Thunder and get up rocks, since I don't think Infernape is rocker, and if he spikes on Skarmory, I don't think he's rock. So I brought out my Roserade. He actually stayed in the Whirlwind, which is a hella risky play, but it definitely worked out for him as he's able to bring in my Tyranitar. At the same time, though, I'm okay with this because I get to get up Sandstorm early, and I get up my rocks for the majority of the game, though he does have all 3 layers of spikes. Gonna throw off a Fire Blast, as I do find out right here that he is specially defensive Skarm. Would have been nice to hit that Thunder, but it's my fault for using Thunder. Though it is 70% accurate, so it's like using Focus Blast anyway. So I throw off another Fire Blast just to condition him to go for Roost again. That way I can get the free switch into my Gliscor. Now, right here was pretty important because I do throw off a taunt, and I noticed that his initial switch into Gliscor is Suicune. So I'm definitely thinking that Gliscor is going to be putting in some work this game, especially because he's Scarfape, and physically based Scarfape at that. So he probably doesn't have HP Ice, and I'm actually 100% sure he doesn't have the HP Ice because, or at least if he does have HP Ice, he's not invested, so it doesn't knock out Flygon from full, it doesn't knock out Gliscor from full. So I throw off a taunt here, just my safest play, preventing it for Whirlwinding, forcing it to Brave Bird if he went for that, as he brings in Suicune. This isn't too bad, because I did show Roserade, I have Gliscor out, and I do have Flygon. I actually got to Jirachi expecting an Ice Beam. Either way, I could take an offensive Suicune's Hydro Pump, but he does crit my Jirachi upon switching, so Jirachi effectively did nothing this game. Missed the Thunder and got crit upon switching. It's actually pretty funny right now because I go out to my offensive Roserade knowing that I can outspeed him and go for Sleep Powders. I do miss it on Skarmory upon switching, and I thought this part was really funny because I go for Sleep Powder again, but before I went for it, he said, for heaven's sake, please hit. So I was honestly dying that he thought that he was actually hoping for me to hit because he just didn't want to ask me. I just thought that was funny. But in any case, I actually went for Sleep Powder first as opposed to going for like Leaf Storm or Toxic Spike because I didn't want to risk Suicune staying in and going for Ice Beam, though it wouldn't necessarily be able to knock out my Roserade. But I also wanted to see what his initial switch into Roserade would be. So I'm seeing Skarmory, Suicune, and Infernape. I don't think he has a Roserade of his own or even a Poison type in the back, so I'm actually going to go for my first layer of T-Spike. It's a little bit risky now, though, because I landed the Sleep Powder where Skarmory was in, so it does have the potential to wake up right here, but he switches directly into Gengar, so able to get up a T-Spike, which is going to be wearing down that Infernape as well as that Suicune upon switching. He does actually have a Poison type, but it's not one touching the ground, at least not in this generation. So goes up to Gengar. I see leftovers. I can go right for HP Fire. I'm trying to put him in range of my Scarf Dragon Claw from Flygon. That way I don't have to go for Outrage or just knock him out, especially because he does have Skarmory in the back. But my Flygon's also looking pretty scary versus his team. Now that I know he's more than likely physically based Infernape, and Suicune will be worn down by Stealth Rock plus Poison plus Sand. So I got to Flygon as he does a reveal to Protect. So he is Mystic Gar. Now, Mystic Gar is just a variant that runs Protect, though it was called Mystic Gar when it ran Life Orb, but Leftovers or Black Sludge is fine too. Right here, I go for a second Dragon Claw, even though he does have Skarmory in the back. And the reason I made this play is one of two reasons. I don't want to risk switching out versus a Gengar, double switching, trying to predict around a Gengar when 3 layers of Spike are up, and my Tyranitar would be coming in at about 60-something%. Also, by revealing Dragon Claw, he might be thinking I'm not Choice Scarf, but I'm actually Choice Band, since a lot of Choice Scarf Flygon, though they do sometimes run Dragon Claw, Thunder Punch is also common, Stone Edge. I think Thunder Punch is more so common than Stone Edge, just because, I personally like Thunder Punch more, just because it reliably checks Gyarados at +1. So I went for Dragon Claw, and you know, Mystic Gengar actually makes you feel jive sometimes. Protect is good to scout, and then your opponent usually doubles, and I think that's what he was thinking. I definitely wouldn't have made the play myself because he has Skarmory in the back, but I was able to get rid of Gengar so early, and that is so good for my Gliscor. So I go right to my Gliscor. Skarmory is going to come in, and I'm not going to mess around with this Skarmory. I'm going to throw off a taunt. I don't want him phasing me around, though most of my members that are left are actually not affected by spikes, which is why I wasn't too worried about the 3 layers of spike. Now right here, I actually decided to throw off an Earthquake, expecting him to want to go out to Suicune. I mean, he's already taunted, so the best thing he could do is Brave Bird anyway. And I'm able to get off some chip damage on Suicune, which is very, very crucial for any of my remaining Pokemon to knock it out. Now, I don't want to stay on my Gliscor. I can't knock him out at that range, so I'm going to go out to my Tyranitar as fodder. Had he went for Ice Beam here, I would have been able to eat Ice Beam by his Hydro Pump. Unfortunately, my opponent does miss the Hydro Pump, which is really lame because I do have a Pashu Berry, so while I would have eaten that one, afterwards he would have been able to knock me out with the next Hydro Pump, but it's really unfortunate for my opponent, as I can now knock him out with Crunch, with the Sandstorm, with the poison damage racking up. So Suicune is gone. Again, Gliscor is looking so good. He even reveals a Flygon right now. So with Suicune and Gengar gone, Gliscor is looking amazing, especially the fact that this is Life Orb Flygon. Which means it's more than likely mixed with Draco Meteor. So I'm going to my own Choice Scarf Flygon, just throw off a Dragon Claw, not going to mess around at all with this Pokemon. He has Scarf Infernape, a Life Orb Flygon, and Skarmory in the back. There's no reason for me not to Dragon Claw, especially because Skarmory is asleep. I can go directly into Gliscor. Even if he double tier into Flygon, it's fine for me because I do have, basically, Gliscor does not die to max special attack Draco Meteor from Flygon, unless it's a crit. 99% is actually the max that Draco Meteor could do. So he does roll me out, reveals my last, which is Gengar. And as you can see, I don't care about the spikes. All 3 of my Pokemon, 2 of them have Levitate. You know, rest in peace, Gengar. Curse Body's still good on it too, and I'll talk about that later. But, a different video. But, Gliscor obviously doesn't care about spikes. So he phases me out into my Gengar. I don't want him to Brave Bird me though. And plus he's Spadef Skarmory, so he can technically beat me 1v1 if I don't get Spadef drops with Focus Blast, especially because in this generation, Steel does resist Ghost. So I'm gonna throw off an Ice Fang right here because I don't want to go for Taunt and have him try and bring in his Flygon. If I can actually catch it upon switching, I can knock it out potentially, depending on rolls. So I'm just going for Ice Fangs here instead of taunting as well, because either way he wastes his Brave Bird. I could taunt him though. He actually makes a really, really solid series of plays by forcing me. He basically hits me with Brave Bird to the point where I am forced to Roost and switches out into Flygon on the turn that he knows I'll go for Roost. It was a very good series of plays, but now Skarmory is extremely low, which means later I can taunt it. He does bring out Flygon. Right here, max damage from Draco Meteor is 99%. I don't want to sack my Gengar just yet since I'm not sure what his last is, though based on his team, it would have to be a Stealth Rocker, so it's either Heatran or Tyranitar. I'm thinking his last. It's definitely not Swampert. That would have came in long ago versus Gliscor. So I'm thinking it's either Heatran or Tyranitar as his last. And both of them are going to be rockers. That's what I'm thinking at this point. So, especially when he revealed his initial switch into Gliscor was Suicune, I knew that his last could not come in Gliscor. And when Gengar was going down, I knew that Gliscor would put in work. So I actually decided to go for Roost here. because maximum damage from Draco Meteor, if he's plus special attack, is 99%. So I can live it all the time. And if I Roost as well, I wasn't expecting to be faster. I basically can take 2 Draco Meteors. The other reason why I went for Roost is because at the amount of HP he's at, Ice Fang won't be able to knock him out unless I get either absolute max or I think actually absolute max is like 78%, so I don't think I can actually knock him out at that range. So I wanted one more turn of Life Orb, that way I can knock him out with Ice Fang. So I went for Rooster as he drops a Draco and unfortunately misses. It would not have knocked me out unless it crit, and I would have been forced to Roost again, which is very crucial, and I'll talk about that why in a bit. But I don't want Gliscor to take this Draco Meteor when I can actually sack my Gengar, put him in one more Life Orb hit, and actually knock him out with my Ice Fang 100%. So I go back out to Gliscor. I was not expecting to be faster than Flygon. I was never expecting to be faster than Flygon. But I am faster than Flygon, so I can threaten that thing with an Ice Fang. He's also -2. I can go right for Ice Fang as he does reveal his last, which is Tyranitar. And this is where him missing the Draco Meteor definitely mattered, because his game plan was hit me with Draco Meteor, force me to Roost, go Tyranitar, not take this Ice Fang. And that Ice Fang was crucial because that did put him in range of my Gliscor's EQ. So let's say you hit that Draco Meteor, I Roost. I would not have stayed in versus Tyranitar. I was already under the impression that it wasn't Dragon Dance because he didn't have a rocker, and so I was thinking Tyranitar would be his rocker. It's also something to take advantage of a spinner between Gengar plus what I'm assuming to be Passion Berry Tyranitar, because he obviously wasn't Lum since he did get poisoned. I'm assuming it was Passion Berry to trap Starmie. Makes sense with Scarf Ape, Gengar, Protect Spinner, and Tyranitar right here. So basically what would have happened was his Tyranitar would have came in on my Roost, been at a significant amount less, but I would not have stayed in with my Gliscor, because if he brought it in, I'm assuming he, again, was Stealth Rocker, and he probably had Ice Beam. So what I actually would have done in this series of plays is I would have gone out to Gengar and used Gengar just to wear it down with Sub, because I was Sub Pain Split Gengar, so just to wear it down with Sub to the point of Poison, where it goes down to my Gliscor's Earthquake, and still be able to take on his remaining last few. But I go for Earthquake here. After the Ice Fang damage, I am able to knock out the Tyranitar, as now he can go right out to Skarmory. All I got to do is taunt this thing, prevent it from roosting up on me, and just go for a series of Ice Fangs and Roosts. That way he can't knock me out. Now right here I actually ended up going for Ice Fang. Main reason I went for Ice Fang here is because whether I roosted or not, if I roosted, his taunt would wear off after, and I would taunt him again anyway, and I would be at about 66% after Leftovers recovery, roughly 66%. And if I Ice Fang and he Brave Birds, unless he crits, I end up at 66% anyway if he gets the exact same roll that he's been getting, 24, 23, 23, 24. So I ended up at about 66% anyway. So I guess the only thing at risk though was a potential crit, but at this point my Scarf Flygon definitely won the game. There's no way he's HP Ice on his Infernape based on the U-turn damage, and even if it was, it doesn't knock out my Flygon. And in order to revenge kill me with Infernape, he would have to get off. He would have to go for Fire Blast or his HP Ice, meaning he couldn't U-turn on my Flygon to get off the chip damage he needed for an HP Ice. So I do get a crit, and I am able to knock out the Skarmory right there. It only mattered if he got a crit right here with Infernape. Either way, that actually did not matter at all, because as you can see right here, his Fire Blast does 55%. So it would have done, I would have been at about 10% less than what I was. Or I would have been at roughly 10-15% after the Brave Bird and after Fire Blast. But he still had to go for crits. So the crit didn't matter in the sense that he didn't have the opportunity to get another crit on me. But either way, I did have Scarf Flygon in the back, which would have knocked out Infernape with Outrage, as well as knocked out his own Flygon. But Gliscor is able to come through, knock out Infernape with Earthquake, and then Flygon is going to go down to the Ice Fang, and that is going to be good game. So Gliscor was definitely able to come through. A really, really key turn for me was when my opponent decided to sack Flygon. Or excuse me, tried to sack, or stayed with his Gengar versus my Flygon, predicting me to double or expecting me to be banned while I showed off the Dragon Claw. So getting rid of Gengar, or immediately me noticing that Gliscor was just so good versus him, especially when his initial switch in was Suicune. It just shows that, oh, this was a good Pokemon. That's all I gotta say. But definitely, I wasn't too worried about the spikes just because the remainder of my team didn't care about it. I was a little bit worried when Jirachi missed Thunder on Skarmory because that would have been so huge. Imagine just hitting that Thunder on Skarmory, doing about half or a little bit more, and potentially even paralyzing it, or even just having my Skarmory alive, or even having my Jirachi alive. Another thing about that is my Jirachi would have definitely been faster than his Flygon if my Gliscor was, just based on the EV spread. And Jirachi was a very tough Pokemon for him to switch into. You can't risk Infernape, it takes too much damage. Gengar doesn't beat it 1v1. Tyranitar loses to Iron Head, I have Thunder and Iron Head. And Suicune takes a ton of damage from Thunder as well, putting it in range of Flygon. But just goes to show, just keep playing it. I definitely got lucky with the Draco Meteor miss. It wouldn't have knocked out Gliscor. It actually, like I said, absolute max damage is 99% on Gliscor. That's absolute max. So unless he crit, and even then, it mattered in the sense that the series of plays went down, that it would go out to his Tyranitar and it wouldn't have taken the Ice Fang damage. But like I said, I would never have stayed in with Gliscor. I would have went out to Gengar scouting for the Ice Fang. I was 100% sure he was not Dragon Dance because he had no Stealth Rocker, and Pasture Berry I think makes a lot more sense on this. I guess it could be anything else, but I think Pasture Berry makes a ton of sense on this, since Starmie and even Empoleon is a little bit annoying for his team to deal with, especially because it sets up twice versus his Suicune. But in any case, I do hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you guys next time with another video. Goodbye, friends.